Hey friends, welcome back to the Glowing Anyway podcast. If you're new here, my name is Lyss, and this is the podcast where we talk all things healing, growth, motherhood occasionally. I don't know why. Every time I pop on here or feel the most inspired, I feel like I'm not wearing makeup, my hair is not done, which is so funny because you would think if I'm gonna film, I would want to get all ready, but honestly, it's a rainy day. I'm just feeling the vibes, and I have severe allergies right now. I don't know what is going on this year. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but I've been dealing with just the worst post-nasal drip, a little bit of congestion. My eyes are watery. Truthfully, I probably should have taken allergy medicine before I started, but we're here now. And for whatever reason, I feel I just feel the most inspired and yappy in my natural state, in my natural form. That's how you know you're getting the raw stuff, okay? The raw feelings. And I don't really have any notes with me today, so we're just gonna yap. We are just going to yap about some things I've been feeling lately in life. I talked about this a little bit on the podcast TikTok account. I kind of did a short video on this topic, and that is accepting going backwards when you're changing, right? Accepting going backwards with your growth. And I've been in kind of a weird place in my life lately. I feel like sometimes we take 2 steps forward and we take 1 step back, right? A lot of us, myself included, can be so hard on ourselves when that happens because you automatically think you failed, right? You automatically think that I must not have actually changed. It must have been fake because I fell back into my own habits. And that's just not the case, right? You can choose to change. You can choose to build new habits, to become somebody new, to try to be a new person. And at the end of the day, you're still human, right? You're still a human. Falling back into those patterns that you've had your whole life, that's normal. That's a normal thing. I gave this analogy in my video. Think about how many times successful CEOs, how many times people you see online who have great success, right? Think of how many times they failed or they doubted themselves or they went backwards a little bit and they got up and they tried again. You don't think about that part. You don't see that part because you see the success, right? You see the aftermath, right? But what you don't see is that journey, is that constant push and pull of trying to set a new habit and falling back a little bit, or trying to build something and failing and having to, okay, reanalyze and get back up again. We don't see those parts. I feel as a society, we tend to focus on the aftermath, right? On the amazing stuff, on the breakthroughs, but we don't see that journey of somebody becoming, right? And that's part of the reason I started this podcast is when I became a mom at 19, when I got pregnant at 19 and had my daughter at 20, I would see all these success stories of women who had, been in similar scenarios and came out on top and built a great career for themselves. They were doing really well financially. They got the husband, they got the house eventually. But what I didn't see is the journey, was the in-between. Okay, but how did you get there? Okay, but what things did you experience that I'm experiencing on your journey to get to where you are now? Do you know what I mean? So I feel there's not enough sharing of the in-betweens, of the failures, of the setbacks in society. And I think that we need to make that a normal thing, right? To show that that's a normal thing. And with my own life specifically, with the last month or so, I found myself falling back into some old bad habits, right? Not keeping up with the daily chores, the dishes started overflowing, the house started getting a little bit messy, or even with dating, I was accepting things I should not have been accepting. With dating, I started entertaining things that I told myself I was not going to entertain. And when that happens, you can do one of 2 things, right? You can be super hard on yourself. You can basically bully yourself, tell yourself that you failed at trying to change. You can tell yourself that you just are the way you are and no amount of trying is going to make you change. Or you can forgive yourself. You can recognize that everybody falls sometimes, that everybody reverts back to old habits sometimes, but that part doesn't matter. What matters is what you do after the fact, right? So your two choices. You can be hard on yourself and you can just accept that that's the way you are and continue to operate that way and never change your entire life. Or you can admit, hey, yeah, okay, yeah, I screwed up. I messed up, maybe. I fell back into some old habits. I set myself back a little bit on trying to grow and change. But you know what? I'm going to try again. I'm going to start new. I'm going to make this promise to myself and do my very best to keep it moving forward. You can start new at any point in your life. You can always try again. You can always get up and choose differently, move differently, act differently. You can always get up and set new standards for yourself. At any point, you can want and try to change. One thing I will never, ever, ever do is judge somebody for trying to change. One thing I will never do is judge somebody for actively trying to grow and be a better person. One thing I will never ever do is judge somebody for falling back a little bit on their journey to trying to change, because it happens, because we're human. I feel like when I went through this little period of reverting back to my old ways, so to say, I did start to get a little hard on myself. I did start to forget who I was. And I think it can be nice. It feels nice to indulge in old habits, right? To do the things that used to make you comfortable, even if you know they're not good for you. But you have to be aware enough to look at these things, right? And evaluate them against who you were, who you are now, and who you're trying to be, right? Would my future self be okay with me just giving up and reverting back to these old things? Would my future self be at the bar every weekend getting wasted? No. Would my future self skip the gym? No. Would my future self skip meal prep? No. Would my future self be ordering DoorDash 30 times a week? No. So at some point you kind of have to have an awakening and be like, okay, I messed around the last month, 2 months, but it's time to lock back in and it's time to get back to business, right? Do not accept defeat, okay? When you are going through a tough season, maybe you're going through a tough time financially, or you just lost somebody, or maybe you're going through a breakup. When you are going through a tough time, do not give in, okay? Do not give in. It's normal. It's normal to revert back to old habits. It's normal to want to do the things that made you comfortable, and you may do them. You very well may do them. You may go out and party for a night. You may skip your meal prep and order DoorDash all those times a week. You may entertain things that aren't meant for you for the sake of not being lonely, but do not give in to that. Do not let that define who you're trying to become. Don't let that take over your journey of trying to change, right? I feel like sometimes we can fall so deep in the guilt or the shame of reverting back to somebody we don't want to be, or somebody that we don't really recognize fully anymore, that we choose to just give up on our journey forward, or we choose to just keep moving in those old ways because we think that defines us. We think that that's just who we must be since we keep going back to it. And let me tell you, those moments don't define your entire life, okay? Those little setbacks don't define who you are as a person now. Like I said, what matters is the way that you move forward. What matters is the way that you tackle your life now. And being hard on yourself and shaming yourself and guilting yourself is going to get you nowhere, right? Part of moving forward and changing in life is accepting that we are only human, that we're not perfect, that even things that move forward have a way of reversing sometimes, right? We are put through these setbacks and these challenges in life to test ourselves, to test who we're becoming, right? You may think that you changed a certain area of your life and that you're fully good. You may think that you are over something that you don't need to heal anymore, but that's the funny thing about life. That's the beautiful thing about life. It will keep testing you to make sure that you're fully good on that, because if something affects you, then you know you still have work to do, right? That's the beautiful thing about these setbacks, whether it's going back to somebody who drained you, who wasn't good for you. You went back. At the end of the day, you went back. And now you know you still have more healing to do to disconnect from that person, right? Maybe it has to do with habits you wanted to set, keeping up with your chores or keeping your house clean or trying to be more organized in general. And maybe you go through a rough patch in life and you find yourself in a depressive state and you don't want to do your dishes for a week and you don't want to clean your house for a week. And that's life showing you, hey, I know you have the best intentions. I know you want to change this thing, but maybe you need to rework how you're going about it. Maybe you need to try to set this habit in a different way, have a different routine or system for yourself so that when you do go through hard times in life, it doesn't affect you. It doesn't affect this new habit you're trying to create, right? Life has a very funny way of pulling us back to where we're meant to be, whether that be pulling you back to a moment you need to heal from, because maybe you're not being fully honest with yourself, or whether it's pulling you back to where you need to be to move back on your path forward, right? Life has a funny way of pulling you back. I can't tell you how many times I've tried to rush my life to be in places I was not supposed to be, and life pulled me back every single time. But you have to be willing to kind of open your eyes to that. You have to be willing to learn the lessons you need to learn in order to move forward, because if not, you're kind of going to get stuck in this like loop of life where you keep getting pulled back to these things because you think you're healing from it, you think you're growing from it, but you're really not, right? You're just trying to push past it. And part of that comes along with not guilting ourselves and shaming ourselves for when we do fall back, accepting that it is all part of the process of life. It is all part of the flow of life. And that is truly the way to grow. Going right through these things, experiencing them, feeling all the feelings, letting yourself learn the lesson that this moment, this scenario, this situation is trying to teach you. Life is about getting knocked down 100 times and still standing back up and choosing differently and choosing to glow anyway, right? And I've said this before, like with my podcast name, I came up with it because I love the meaning of it. I love the kind of poetic hidden definition that people often don't understand with the name, right? When you hear glowing anyway, you probably at first glance think that means somebody glowing through life, right? They're so happy all the time. They're so positive. They're so bubbly. They never have anything bad happen to them. They're always growing and changing. They never have any setbacks, right? I had a video go viral. If you're following my TikTok, you've probably seen it. And it was about basically like women raising babies alone. We're working 2-3 jobs, we're building our dreams after bedtime. And at the end, I had this closing line. It said, "This is for the women who do it all, tired, but glowing anyway." And I had so many women comment and be like, "But I'm not glowing anyway. I don't feel like I'm glowing. I don't feel like, like when you think of glowing, you think of this like model. You think of somebody like skin glowing, hair done, nails done, makeup done, everything did. What's that song? Go Cinderella, Go Cinderella. Okay, I don't know why I just thought of that. But when you think of glowing, when somebody says, "Oh, you're glowing," you think of somebody who's like so put together and like whatever. And that just wasn't the vision I had for my brand. Like the meaning of glowing anyway, it means that you are going to go through tough times, right? You are going to go through hardships. You are going to go through battles that are going to knock you down. But glowing anyway means choosing not to stay down, okay? Glowing anyway means life can knock you down to your knees and you get back up, whether it be in a week, in a month, in a year. Eventually, you get back up, right? You don't choose to accept defeat. That's glowing anyway. And that's kind of what this episode is about today, is not accepting defeat when life does everything to knock you down, when life does everything to drag you back. It's not accepting that that's just who you are, right? It's choosing change anyway. It's choosing to try to grow anyway. It's choosing peace in a world that promotes chaos. It's choosing growth in a world that promotes bitterness and pettiness and holding on to grudges, right? It's choosing to be a good person, to be a kind person when life gives you every reason not to be. That's glowing anyway. That's the true meaning of glowing anyway. And I felt like it was just so fitting for my life and for so many women that I know, their lives, because being a young mom, being a single mom, some of the things I've been through, like, I could have chosen to be a terrible person. I could have chosen to go out and party every weekend. I could have chosen to just accept defeat. I could have chosen to work a minimum wage job the rest of my life. I could have chosen to live with my parents the rest of my life, but I didn't. Despite all the odds against me, I kept pushing. I kept moving. I kept glowing anyway, even when I felt like a bag of rocks at the bottom of a river. Like, even when I felt like I was drowning and that there was no way above the water, I kept pushing because let me tell you something. Your hard seasons, your battles, your hardships, they don't define you, okay? A bad moment, a bad season does not mean a bad life, right? We go through things to grow from them, to change from them. We meet people to learn a lesson, to have things mirrored back at us, right? Everything in this world is protection, redirection, a lesson. There's meaning to everything. Everything is happening for you, okay? Not to you. Everything is happening for you to learn from it, to grow from it, right? You owe it to yourself to keep pushing. You owe it to yourself to not let your setbacks drag you back. You owe it to yourself to not let your setbacks be your ending point, okay? That's your starting point. You owe it to yourself. And if you have children, you owe it to your children to keep pushing forward, to learn the lessons that life is trying to teach you. You owe it to yourself to experience the most beautiful life that this world, this lifetime has to offer you, okay? I read this quote once, or I watched a video of someone saying that when you have very vivid dreams, okay, when you're somebody who all of these big dreams, no matter what a big dream might mean for you, because for some people a big dream might be a family and a house and kids, and for some people a big dream might be speaking on stages and at interviews. Like, it's different for everybody. But when you have these dreams, these very clear visions of how you want your life to be, it's because it's already yours in the future. It's because your future self is waiting for you to get there, right? I love that analogy. I feel like that has helped me so much with growing and just working towards my goals, because you picture these things and to just know that future you already has these things, and that's why you can see them so clearly. It is like one of the best motivating factors, because you're like, yeah, this is already mine. This is already mine. And that might be an affirmation technique. I don't know. I'm not really an affirmation expert, so don't come for me. I've been trying to get more into affirmations. I just really haven't. I probably do it without even realizing, like this scenario of just claiming that everything is already yours in the future. You just have to keep working towards it, right? I don't know why, like the Spider-Man multiverse is coming to my mind, like different universes, and it kind of reminds me of the different paths we can take in life, right? Whether you choose to give up and give into your setbacks, or you choose to keep pushing and working towards your dreams and accept that that stuff is already yours. At the end of the day, we have free will. We as humans have free will. You can choose to do whatever you want in life. The world is your oyster, okay? I feel like I mentioned this maybe in a prior podcast episode, so if I have, forgive me, but I saw an article of this man who became like a doctor and a psychologist and an astronaut, like something ridiculous. Like he was just a way overachiever. And if that's your dream, amazing. That is phenomenal. But it really just goes to show you that you can do whatever you want in this life. If you work hard enough towards it, you can do whatever you want. Okay? You are the author of your own life. You make your own choices and decisions that lead you to the life you want. The sooner that you are aware to it, the sooner that you recognize you are the author of your life, right? And if you're religious, like God is guiding your life. He's guiding you on this path. But at the end of the day, we were given free will. So you can choose to follow this path, these dreams that were placed on your heart and your mind for a reason, or you can choose to go against it, and you can choose differently. You can choose the things that don't flow in a line, right? You can choose to give in to the setbacks and the failures and the spiritual attacks, right? But you owe it to yourself to experience your dream life. You owe it to yourself to live life to the absolute fullest, to go after all your dreams, to achieve all your dreams, whether you have little kids running behind you or not. Maybe you're just a single woman. You owe it to yourself, okay? And I feel like that's a good place to end. So if you have been in a season recently where you've been a little extra hard on yourself because maybe you fell back into some bad old habits of partying, maybe you've been a little bit more impatient recently, maybe you haven't been eating as well, or you fell off your fitness journey a little bit, this is your sign. This is your message today to not be so hard on yourself, okay? To accept that everybody in life has had setbacks at one point in time. We all have setbacks eventually, okay? You are not perfect. You were not made to be perfect, right? You were made to be you. You were made to grow and to learn and to teach maybe others. But you were not made to be perfect and to walk this one-way path where you never have challenges and you never have setbacks. Okay, that's just not real life. We all have setbacks in our own different ways. And when you can learn to give yourself grace when they do happen and to choose to get up and to try again and to start over and not keep score in a negative way for those setbacks, your life will change. Eventually, you will keep moving forward. And the things that once held power over you won't hold power over you, right? But sometimes we have to fall a few times before we can get back up and stay back up for good. So I want you to go out into the world, okay? If you've been feeling like you're falling off a little bit, if you've been feeling like you're reverting into somebody you don't want to be recently, like you're moving backwards instead of forwards into your future self, stop, okay? Reevaluate, okay? Run everything through a scope of, does this align with who my future self is? What do they read? What do they do in the morning when they wake up? What do they eat? Who do they talk to? Who do they surround themselves with, right? What kind of environments do they put themselves in? Run everything through that scope, and I promise you, you will find your answers. Every single answer in life is already within us. And I know I sound a little witchy woo-woo when I say that, but it is so true. Everything in life has an answer. And chances are it is already inside of you. You already know what you need to do. You just have to open your mind enough to be able to hear it. You have to sit with yourself and sit alone in the quiet enough for you to hear it, to understand it. You have to trust yourself and learn to listen to that little voice. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I have been MIA from the podcast for like a month, I think now. Honestly, I have just been in such like a creative rut, and I think part of it is because I felt like I was falling back into old patterns and habits, and that like the things I was preaching and saying weren't aligning with who I fell back into during that time. And I was talking to one of my good friends, and he mentioned that actually about like my podcast Glowing Anyway. And I told him like I didn't feel like I could show up authentically because I hadn't been fully authentic up until that point. Like, yeah, I shared all the good highlight reels of life. I shared all my like good messages, right? Like, so to speak, or lessons I've learned that were positive and influential and whatever. But I feel like I didn't share so much of this, right? These raw moments, literally no notes. I don't have my notebook. Like, usually when I record a podcast, I'll at least have a couple notes written down. But no, I literally just say, God, Holy Spirit, whoever, speak through me, speak to me. Let me just flow, let this out like my diary. So I didn't feel like there was enough raw negative moments of my life, so to speak. And that was the whole point. That was the whole idea when I started Glowing Anyway, was to share these moments, the setbacks, just as much as I share the highlight reels, right? And like making positive change and moving forward in life. I think that it is so important to be realistic, to be real, and show these parts of the journeys too, so that I do feel like I can authentically show up. I do feel like I'm being myself with you guys and letting you in and saying, hey, listen, I go through hard times too in life, right? Like nobody's perfect. Sometimes I feel like I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I posted a video on my main page, mainly like aimed at moms and just saying like motherhood can get so busy and there's so much going on. And I was like, do any of us know what we're doing, or are we just doing it? And that's how I feel most of the time. I'm just doing it. I'm just going through life. That's what most of us are doing. We're just doing it. A lot of us are probably just winging life. Unless you're very type A. I am not. I am type B, if you couldn't tell. But that's life. We go through it. We go through the motions. We live and we learn, baby. So again, thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode. If you enjoyed it, please share with a friend, repost to your socials. If you're not following me on TikTok or Instagram or anything like that already, it is at Glowing Anyway. Would so love to have you over there. TikTok is more just like bite-sized little messages, little reminders for your day. So yeah, I will see you guys on next week's episode. I'm so excited. I'm turning 25 on May 19th, and I have never gotten to do like a birthday episode. I'm pretty sure I haven't done a birthday episode because I kind of treated this more like a hobby and didn't post so often. But I will be recording a little 25 lessons I've learned by 25. I feel like I have to. I feel like it's a milestone birthday and I just need to. All right. Thank you guys so much. Have a great week. Be gentle with yourselves, and I'll see you on the next episode.